Good morning, everyone. I sure hope your week is off to a great start. I want to share with you just another challenge from yesterday's message and to bring back to our memory the things that we talked about, and hopefully that we can take those things and apply them to our lives and put our faith into action this week. So we want to look at the story that came from Joshua chapter 1, verses 7. You know, Andrew and I are beginning this new series on the book of Joshua, and we're calling it Be Strong and Courageous. And there's so much about this story that is amazing. There's so many things in this book that are going to draw our attention and really help us learn some things about God along the way. So I'm excited about this. And so in chapter 1, what you see is a situation where leadership is being transferred from Moses over to Joshua. And that took place for a number of reasons. Moses was getting aged. And Moses had also disobeyed God. God had told him at the waters of Meribah to speak to the rock, and the rock would pour out water for the people. But instead, Moses tried to steal that glory and strike the rock, and the water poured out. But because he had done what God had not asked him to do, God told him he would not see the promised land, even though he had taken them so far. Well, also, one of the things that was a challenge is there were so many of them that did not believe and did not trust in God. You remember back when Moses had sent those 12 spies into the land of Canaan to just spy it out and to see if it was a land that they could take. And you remember 10 of those spies came back with a negative report saying, we just can't do it. They're just too great. They're too powerful. There's no way we can take them. And so as a result, all the people that fell into line with that line of thinking, that distrust, that faithlessness, God said that generation of people will be wiped out. Except for there were two people, Joshua and Caleb. And if you remember, they came back with a report saying, yes, because God's with us, we can go take this land, and it's an amazing place. And so Joshua was one of those that became a minister to Moses. He was his assistant. He was a military commander. And he was the person that God chose to take the leadership from Moses and place it upon Joshua. So you get to Joshua chapter 1, verses 6 through 9. And these are the instructions God says. He says, be strong and courageous. He says, do the law. Follow it. Don't veer to the right or to the left. And he said, meditate upon those things and speak about those things. And ultimately, this is what you need to know. Do not be afraid, for I'm going to be with you wherever you go. What an awesome promise. So we talked about that, how we need to follow that guidance, that guidance that says, whatever God's word says, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to veer to the right or the left. I'm going to meditate upon those things. I'm going to speak about those truths. And ultimately, I'm going to trust God along the way. Brought to my remembrance something I'd read years ago in a book called Determining Right from Wrong, a 4 C's process of decision making. And these are the C's, okay? The first one is compare the choices. You're not assigning any value to them. You're just saying, these are the choices that are in front of me. I take those choices that I have and I compare them to God's precepts. I look it up. I do some research and I find it. And as I look into it, once I realize what God's will is, then I commit to doing what God says. And then finally, after that, I count on God's provisions. Well, that decision-making model makes a great action step for this week. And so you'll see it behind me. Basically, what I want you to do is to identify that personal struggle that you're going through. And it may be one that you've done over and over. And we keep saying this to you, but keep fighting. We know that everybody needs extra encouragement. So keep identifying what the things are that are keeping you from being what you need to be for God. And once you've identified that struggle, compare to what God's word says. Like, find out what it is that you can do to abstain from that temptation or to stay away from that sinful practice. Invite other people into your world. Be transparent with them. Help them to ask them to help you overcome that sin together. They'll be your accountability partners and people that can help you along the way. And then finally, count on God's provisions. Make sure that you can be fearless in your obedience. So when you look up, you can say, hey, I've given my fullness to God's way, and knowing that He's going to take care of me. I hope that's something that you'll put into practice this week, that you'll be blessed by it, and that you'll show what it means to be strong and courageous. Have a great week, everybody. We love you. We look forward to seeing you next week.